Now joining us is Barbara L'Italian. She is running for Congress in Massachusetts' 3rd District. Barbara, welcome to Rebel Headquarters.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. My husband's a big fan.
Okay, great. Well, tell him I said hi.
I will. He's probably watching. I'm sitting in the Massachusetts State Senate right now, so he's probably at home watching.
All right. Hi, Barbara's husband. All right. So, Barbara, you've been a state representative and a state senator. You are one now. You're a school committee member. So why now to run for Congress?
Oh boy. I've spent the last 15 years being a leading progressive legislator. And now more than ever, I really feel like we need a mom on a mission, which I've done over the last 15 years. I started in politics because of my autistic son and having to put together supports and services for him, getting into the legislature as a mother of 4 in my early 40s. And I just think that what we need down in Washington are mom values. You know, when we're ripping babies from mother's arms at the border, boy, do we need a mom who cares and is compassionate and is patient and persistent. And, I've done so much work up here in Massachusetts. I was fortunate to be part of the push for gay marriage back in 2004 when the eyes of the world were looking at us. And I stood up as a freshman legislator when many of my colleagues were hiding in their offices, afraid to take a stand. And I took that courage and really helped lead the fight to make sure that people could marry who they love. And I've just never looked back. I risked my seat. I was kicked out of my church over this, my Catholic church. And for that end, being a Planned Parenthood endorsed candidate. So it's just made me a stronger person. It has made me a persistent person. I was able to sort of put together over the years a whole bunch of healthcare supports and services for kids like my son with autism, including medical insurance mandates and other things. So I just think I want to get down to Washington and work on single payer Medicare for All program. I'm an endorsed candidate for that here in Massachusetts. I want to look at making sure that people with pre-existing conditions have coverage. I want to go down and work on and fight against the privatization of education. I have fought hard against charter schools up here in Massachusetts. I represent a city that's under receivership. There's a lot of charter schools there, and I was the only one to stand up and fight back against that with a state ballot initiative 2 years ago. So I want to go down and fight Betsy DeVos and her charterization, corporatization agenda. I want to work on healthcare, want to work on the environment. We've done a lot of things in the environment that are really great up here in Massachusetts. And we've got to take a stand down there on good, sound environmental science. So those are some of the things that I want to do.
Yeah. Well, look, it's heartening to see these big progressive fighters all over the country. And if we could get all you folks into Congress, that would be amazing. But you mentioned something there that I just wanted to follow up on because I found it interesting. That you got kicked out of your church for being for Planned Parenthood and gay marriage.
Right.
I'm curious about 2 parts of that. One, how did that go down? Who pulled you aside and said, that's it, you're done, you got to leave the building? And then where did you go after that?
Right. So what happened was in 2004, that was the first election cycle after we had allowed equal marriage in Massachusetts. Then Governor Romney pointed me out and said that I was the one most likely to lose my seat because I represented a swing district. And so I had all of the progressive groups all over the state helping me because it was critically important that we keep progressive legislators and not send a chilling effect to other states that voting and supporting equal marriage would mean you'd lose your seat. And so, which had happened with civil unions in Vermont. So I, had a hard-fought race. I truthfully think that my parish priest thought that I was going to lose. So he called me the day after I won re-election in 2004, invited himself to my home. I literally sat with him at my kitchen table, baked brownies for him, just thought he wanted to meet me. And really what he wanted to do was to tell me that I was no longer welcome to participate in any of the activities that I participated in my home parish of St. Augustine's in Andover. So I am a singer, so I used to sing the mass parts as a cantor, and I also used to help run the children's choir with a couple of other parents. 3 of my 4 children were part of that. And he basically told me I was no longer welcome to participate in my church. So it literally went down at my kitchen table the day after the 2004 general election.
That's amazing. That's amazing that people who are supposed to preach Jesus' gospel say you're not welcome in his house because you disagree with me politically. It's shocking. I thought they were supposed to be there to help people.
Well, it's really interesting because all through college, I was really active in my Catholic faith. And really what it brought me to was sound nuclear policy during the Reagan administration, trying to put forth a nuclear freeze, boycotting Nestle over their promotion of infant formula. And boy, that's come back in the news recently, promoting formula and corporate greed over nursing mothers. They were part and parcel of all of the, during the Vietnam War. I remember as a little girl watching peace marches and participating in them. So the Catholic Church stood for some really strong things with civil rights and the Vietnam War and all that. And, in the last few decades, it seemed to be this litmus test of, where you are on a woman's right to choose. And unfortunately, my parish priest really preferred to have fewer people as part of the church and wanted sort of purity and blind following. And what I had to say was, as an elected official, I represent people of all different faiths, and I am never going to make a reproductive choice decision for anyone else, nor am I going to tell someone that they can't marry who they love. So the experience was shocking for me at the time. It was very hurtful, but it made me really strong and very persistent. And it made me realize early on in my career, it was really a gift because it taught me that being a leader is not always doing the most popular thing. And it's oftentimes standing up for the minority and standing up for people who don't have a voice. So it really was a great, though hard lesson. It's really influenced all the work I've done over the last 15 years on civil rights, on education policy, on healthcare, and on the environment. We just went through an exercise up here over Citizens United and the We the People Act. I was a proud sponsor of that.
Yeah, I wanted
sponsored legislation. And that's really playing out in my congressional race. I mean, we have folks that are bringing in giant amounts of money from Wall Street because one gentleman's dad was the Bank of America president. Another gentleman who's got the mayor of Boston helping him shake down sort of every major developer and law firm that has business before the city of Boston. So there's, giant money getting thrown around. But I'm also seeing here in Massachusetts that the influence of money in politics has really caused. We were going to have a corporate change. We were going to put something on the ballot that was going to require that we have millionaires pay their fair share, and that went down in flames. We've had gun control issues, of course, at the national level that are being influenced by the NRA and their stranglehold over people. We have a gentleman who's going to be the Republican that someone will face in September in this general election in the 3rd Congressional that started a dark money push. It's called the Mass Fiscal Alliance, and they've been sending out hateful mailers for years, just scaring people, playing upon their worst fears, appealing to people's baser instincts on immigration and a whole bunch of other things. So I'm seeing, the corruptive influence of money on the ground here in Massachusetts as well as at the federal level. So I'm one of the folks that really fought back on that a couple of weeks ago.
So I know that Senator L'Italian is true to her word, because she's one of the 15 state senators that voted for Wolfpack's resolution, as she was referring to there, and that was called We the People Act, and that's to get money out of politics. So she talked the talk and she walked the walk, and made sure to fight big money in politics. And you'd be surprised that unfortunately that's a brave vote these days, even within the Democratic Party. So that gives you a sense of who's actually for change, who's an actual progressive, and fighting for you guys. I want to make sure everybody gets the website, teambarbara.com and teambarbara.com/get-involved, and then tinyurl.com/donate to Barbara to get involved, volunteer. Time is always the most important thing. If you can volunteer, that makes all the difference. If you can't, you can still donate. You can donate from anywhere in the country. And we're out of time here, but Barbara L'Italian, I know for a fact that you're a fighter for the people, and
Thank
fighter for
you.
change. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much. My pleasure.